Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And what a night we had last night. So, of course, everyone's still very much on a high from beating Wolves last night. Massive win, 4-3 it finished up. Thanks to Kobbie Mainoo's very late winner. And what a winner it was. But time to move on. It's time to move on to the next one. Things come quick and they come fast at Manchester United. And up next is going to be West Ham. We will build up to that match as well. We'll have a look at Erik Ten Hags' big warning that he did give to Manchester United and the players today as well. That is something that certainly is I think very validated, and I think it's very true, and it's what the question on the poll for tonight is about as well. It's about squad depth, it's about the quality. I think Ten Hag has emphasised this point all season long, that the injuries have been the main reason why we've not managed to see good performances on the pitch, good results. And it's why we find ourselves out of the League Cup, out of Champions League, struggling to be in the top half of the table, and only really have the FA Cup to play for. I think I would completely agree with his assessment there in that case, and I do think that the lack of squad depth is definitely a real detrimental impact on this team and its capabilities, and from what we've seen from Manchester United this year. And look, you don't have to take my word for it, only have to look at the level of performance we saw last night, easily the best of the season, especially in that first half. What happens when we took Casemiro off, when we took Martinez off, when Rashford came off, Whelan came off, we found ourselves in a 3-1 position to 3-3. And then we find ourselves having to rely on individual brilliance to pull us out of that very difficult moment and get us the result, get us a win. And across the season, that really is something that we've seen quite a few times. I got Steph down there as well. We must beat the Hammers, otherwise last night's victory will be in vain. Absolutely, Steph, we got to go out there, win the next match. That's the most important match at any point of the season. It's always the next match. What happened last night was good. It was a really good win, really good result, and for once a very good performance for the most part. But we got to go again, and we got to do it on Sunday, and that's going to be key for what we're looking to do. But I think when we have a look at last night's match in some more detail, taking off Casemiro, taking off Alessandro Martinez, that led to a massive drop in quality down there as well. Limatez, Ten Hag wanted a striker. He should not have brought in a Mount, so he himself is to be blamed. I think he struggled with the FFP this year as well, Luman, but I would agree with that. I think there definitely was an expectation going into the transfer window. We would have brought a striker in. And I think even within the club, that did seem to be the general consensus that we had at the time, was that we would bring someone in on loan. It might not be a long-term option. It mightn't have been a flashy player or a big name, but it would have been somebody there. But we're not going to get that. So it is what it is. That's down to the FFP. You're right in saying it's down to overpaying for players as well. There is some news to bring you guys on Mason Mount. I will get to that in just a bit. But I guess we'll just keep going about this warning, because these warning shots have been coming for a really long time from the manager. And I think from the fan base as a whole, look, you don't have to be an expert. You do not have to be a footballing genius to look at this team and say, when we have Scott McTominay playing in midfield, we're worse than what we would be if we had Kobbie Mainoo in there, or if we had Bruno Fernandes in there. When we play Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, it's not as good as Varane and Martinez. When we have to play Diogo Dalot at left back, that isn't as good as having Luke Shaw at left back. It doesn't take a genius to work that out. It doesn't take a visionary to be able to say that, but it does re-emphasize that point. It completely drives it home time and time again. And I think last night's a clear indication. When we have the better players available, we can put up better levels of performance. But what happens if we get an injury to Alessandro Martinez? What happens if Rasmus Højlund pulls his hamstring? Who plays up front? What happens if Casemiro gets suspended? And the way Casemiro's been playing recently, very possible. I think he's got 2 bookings in 2 matches. So he could be going for that suspension pretty soon. What happens if Varane gets injured? What happens if Luke Shaw pulls up? What happens if Dalot gets injured? These are big existential questions we have over the future capabilities of this team. These are questions we do need answers to. I have loads of comments in the chat as well. Let me see. Limango's big ups, everybody. Big up to Bath Time as well. Haven't read the news yet. Is there any? There's some interesting stuff. Bath Time, when we're looking at the press conference today, I guess we would have. We'll feed into this, and that's coming in with some of the quotes from Ten Hag. We have, of course, Bath Time's favourite player, Stefan Amrabat, will return to training on Saturday. Malacia and Mason Mount are not expected back just yet, but Victor Lindelof is on his way back. Yesterday, he did train with the first team, so it's an interesting one there. Batang goes if Varane gets injured. When Varane gets injured in it, yeah, that's true. I should have changed the if to a when. That's my bad. That is my bad. But in terms of Ten Hag saying on the lack of January signings, he has said it's not a secret. I have wanted an extra striker all season long. With the injury of Anthony Martial, we do not have a backup there, but it wasn't possible to bring someone in because we have to comply with FFP rules. So I guess we're going to have Marcus Rashford through the middle if that's what it's going to be. And speaking about depth and the lack of quality in that depth, we have Ten Hag talking about Amari Forson. He says, we have Amari Forson, and we also have Ahmad, and of course we have Rashford who can play there. For the other positions we are occupied, but we might have to be creative with the number 9. I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that. I would rather have an out-and-out number 9 there. I guess, look, honestly, Rashford's probably going to be plan B at striker, I guess. Are we going to play Ahmad in the false 9? I know he's kind of experimented with the false 9 back in the pre-season. We did see Sancho play there quite a bit. Could we put Ahmad there? I mean, Omari Forson, he's a physical presence, but he's not really... He is beyond raw. Like, he is... in my opinion, a pretty limited talent in that regard. But I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I guess we got Charlie McNeil. I'm not too sure what the latest is with him. Possibly carrying an injury as far back as I can remember. But we're really, really stuck for players in that number 9 position. So you might see a situation where we're calling Robin van Persie to come out of retirement, or maybe we try to get a Cavani on the phone, or Ibrahimovic. Maybe he wants to quit the director's box at AC Milan and come fill out as a striker for a couple of weeks. I don't know. Rajat goes, don't want Robbie, Tabito maybe, and no Tony. I would take Ivan Tony. I think we can do better than Tabito, and I also think we can do better than Robbie as well. What have I got? Bath time, the pony. You want to come on at 8:30 tonight? I'll have to get back to you. Let me send you a DM on that, man, because I might have to go pick the girlfriend up from work, which might scupper that plan. But if not tonight, then I guess we could do Monday. Been a while since I've been on anyway. Would love to get back over with you guys. Let me see. Jeremy, I love Mainoo's calm celebration. He knew it was in before he put his laces through it. He's just a class player. Yeah, he's just a class above Kobbie Mainoo. It's just composure personified. And the best thing I can say about Kobbie Mainoo is he does the simple things so well. He doesn't really have a lot of flashy moments like a Garnacho might, or a forward player might, or even like a Bruno Fernandes where he's playing 50, 60-yard passes that might come off. Kobbie Mainoo is excelling, he is shining, and he is grabbing the attention of the fans, of the opposition, of the media, of the pundits, of the analysts, by doing the simple things so well. And sometimes you can't put a price on that. You really can't. Bath Tango was played Tom Heaton in goal and try Onana at 9. Maybe that's the answer. Bath time. I think, who was it? Was it... I'm trying to remember who it was, but David James up front for Man City one time. If someone can tell me who was the manager, was it... It wasn't Sven, was it? Rajat goes as well. Rashford got no hold-up play, not very intelligent movement. No, not really. I think he can finish. I think Rashford as a number 9 works well against a high line where we're going to sit back and we're going to defend and we're going to try spring on the counter-attack, because that way he's more attacking space as opposed to having to hold up or do any of that. Their link-up kind of play that a number 9 would have to do. I do think we're seeing a lot from Højlund in that department, especially last night, and I'm really glad with the progress we've seen across the season from him. Bad time goes get Onana as far away from the goal as possible. Rajat says as well, make Onana play DM with Casemiro and Mainoo. And the man goes, what tactical masterstroke did Ten Hag do against Wolves apart from playing an obvious lineup? In fact, he almost bottled it with his substitutions. Look, some would say that's a lack of squad depth. I think that definitely feeds into that. I do think that's a massive issue we've had all season long. But I will also completely agree that some of the subs definitely seem to cost us a lot of momentum. And I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm still kind of scratching my head as to why we had six or seven players in the penalty box, whipping corner kicks in when we're 3-2 up with about 3 minutes left on the clock. We should be running the clock down, keeping it in the corner. That's what we're meant to be doing. Luan goes, is Bart and bath time the same? I don't think so. Steph is saying as well, probably Keegan. And bath time, yes, Somerville was subbed on. So David James went to number 9. That was amazing. There we go. I knew I remembered it. I knew I remembered that one. I think he just pretty much looked to the bench and said, who's the biggest guy I got here? We'll go with David James. And Rajat goes, shows the depth. Maguire, Evans, and McTominay are coming on. There's no depth. Yeah, that's a big concern for me, and that comes back to the squad building or abject lack of. Big ups to Jordy in the chat as well. That's my question, and my let's go run the poll on tonight as well. Like, what do you guys think about the abject lack of squad depth? I think it's massively concerning because look, if you're Man City, if you're Pep Guardiola, they played a very similar style, maybe not to the same level at times without Kevin De Bruyne, but that's Kevin De Bruyne getting injured, and City are still being able to play in that same system. If they lose Akanji, they can just put Nathan Ake in, or they can just put Ruben Diaz in. If they lose, I don't even know. Like, if they lose Kyle Walker, they can just put more players on there. They can probably put Lewis in there. If they lose Foden, they can put Nunes on. So, like, the list goes on and on. Man City are obviously an extreme example of that. But even Liverpool, like, Liverpool have been scoring plenty of goals without Mohamed Salah in the team. If Arsenal lost a player or two, they wouldn't miss them too badly. We have an issue where one or two players drops out of that team, and all of a sudden, we can't play football. We can't play the type of football we played last night. We have to play a completely different one. And you can't really go from having a midfield of Kobbie Mainoo in there doing the kind of box-to-box stuff with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro. That is completely different midfield profile and a completely different system that you're implementing there whenever you turn to the bench and you're trying to put Christian Eriksen on, Scott McTominay on, at the 6. Like, these are not like for like substitutions. You're basically breaking down the entire system with those subs as well, which is really frustrating. I think that's why we've seen from Ten Hag a real lack of actual rotation at times as well. I think he knows himself that if he does make too many alterations, that we're going to completely forfeit the style of play or whatever little amount of a system we actually have, which is so it's just a really poor position to be in. Rajat goes, why didn't Altai play? Probably because Onana was back, and it's been made very abundantly clear that Andre Onana will be the number 1 goalkeeper this season. Regardless of form, he will be the number 1. Let me see, what have I got in this poll? I think I have 53% are saying the squad depth concerns them. Somehow 24% don't feel concerned, and 22% feel a little bit concerned by the lack of squad depth. Big up some 15 likes as well. Steph says we can't make subs sooner because Bruno is so wasteful again. Plus 2 disallowed goals were unfortunate and a dodgy penalty against us. We always needed the 3rd goal. We absolutely did. We don't kill matches off either, and that's another frustration I have at times. Look, I've said so many times this season, we are in a position where we don't make enough clear-cut chances for the goal-scoring players of this team. But when we do get a goal-scoring opportunity, we tend to miss it anyway. And that's a big frustration. Now, look, is that because your striker should have 100% shot to goal conversion rate? No, that's impossible. But you want to see your central striker or your main attackers getting maybe 2 or 3 opportunities a match, and from that you would expect maybe 1 shot on target, and then from that that's maybe 50-50, maybe less for a goal if it's in a high quality area. Like, I mean, if they're shooting from 50 yards out and the goalkeeper has to step 1 foot to the right and just catch the ball, that's a completely different scenario. That's where stats can be misleading. I got bath time down there saying, was Anthony worse at left wing than right wing? Anthony had a proper disaster class of a cameo last night anyway. Like, he came on, his lack of athleticism showed at least once. He wasn't quick enough to get in the end of it, and he ended up losing the ball, getting tackled. Now I think he won the free kick in the end, but even still, it wasn't good at all from Anthony. And I just think the lack of quality in his game, week in, week out, is really telling. It's really showing. And look, even though he got a goal and an assist against Newport, he still managed to be one of the worst players on the pitch that day. Like, I just don't get it with Anthony. I really don't. I know we've wanted to see him tried on the left for a while, but I think just the lack of anything in his game is massively concerning. Razak says we need a Vert Musiala type or an Olmo. I mean, I would take Florian Wirtz. I absolutely would. He's come back from his injury really, really well. Musiala, you'll never get out of Bayern Munich. That's just not going to happen. Donny Olmo, I guess that's potential. The man says the timing of subs has been pathetic under Oli Ranić and now Ten Hag. It has been. It really has been. Razak goes, I'm thin on thin ice with Rashford. It is his last chance. Yeah, look, I get that. I think he played well last night. I think his link up with Luke Shaw on the left hand side was really positive. We really dominated down that side. It was very, very easy in that first half anyway, when it was just Semedo trying to deal with Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford. They knew each other's game really well. It worked out very nicely in that first half. Obviously, Rashford got the goal. Luke Shaw got the assist for the Hoyland goal. So I'm not too concerned about that. It's about consistency. It's about what they do at the weekend. If Rashford goes and can't get a kick against Vladimir Kufal at the weekend, then you're like, okay, what's going on here as well? Going back to the Ten Hag press conference, he has said Wan-Bissaka is on his way back and could be available for West Ham. It's possible, but he's likely not going to make it for Sunday, but I'm not sure at this moment. There's a problem in his leg, very, very descriptive. Ten Hag on what specific leg injury Wan-Bissaka had said it's personal, it's in his leg. Very, very detailed descriptions from Erik Ten Hag, top quality comments there. What have I got down below in these comments? Jeremy, Anthony used all his injury energy celebrating a tap-in against the pub team. Yeah, that's just embarrassing. Good evening to you too, Gani. Thank you for joining in, and I can see we were up to 16 likes as well. Big ups. Thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. Yeah, look, let me have a quick double check at some of the other statements we have. Lisandro Martinez took off last night was an injury precaution. It's nothing about an actual injury, which is good. I know a lot of people see Martinez sitting on the bench with ice on his foot, getting it all tipped up. Thankfully, he got the double surgery on his other foot, so that's nothing to be concerned about in that regard. So I'm pretty relieved about that. I think Martinez made a big difference last night. I think you've got a really good defender there, but most importantly, you've got a player who breaks the lines for us in possession. So important in what we actually do in terms of build up, and his passing into the forwards. In the midfield, really, really spot on last night, and we're going to need him again for the weekend. Ten Hag actually was talking about the substitutions as well, so this is going to filter into what Luman's been looking for. Big ups to Hot Fuzz. Thanks for joining in. Looks to see you guys. Sorry, good to see you guys. It looks to see you guys. Sometimes I just get tongue twisted, guys, really. I have Ten Hag talking about subs. Now, look, this is going to filter into what Luman's been asking, what Rajat has been saying about, and I think Bath Time as well on the United Agenda was questioning the his use of substitutions. He says, I had to sub Hoyland off because he was dead. That's that's a nice way to put it. With how much he was running, we needed an extra aerial presence, so we brought Harry Maguire on. Omari came on for Rasmus for energy reasons. On Casemiro going off, he says he needs to catch up. For him, he knows the more he's going to play, the better he will be, but he needs a minute in that moment, and he could have been sent off, so he didn't want to take a risk in that regard. Speaking as well about other subs, Marcus Rashford took off because he wanted to put Anthony on for balance. I don't know what balance we're talking about. Bart, hello to you. Would you join us in Liverpool when we win our 20th in May? I don't think that's going to happen. Rajat says Anthony might not be match sharp. I don't know. On Hot Fuzz side, I'm just glad my club isn't Swingers FC from North London. I did say that there as well, to be fair. Ten Hag on Mason Mount as well has said the injury has turned out to be worse than initially expected. He was struggling from the second game of the season. The returns, the pickups, and then another injury. Yeah, it's not great. It's very frustrating for him. I feel for him. I really want to be there for him because he has had such high expectations of himself. I'm sure he will be a very good player for this club in time. First and foremost, what's important is we have to do it very securely. We have to get him fit, go step by step. Do not force it. Has to be done correctly. And hopefully by the end of the season, he will stay fit and fight in the team and will play a role between now and the end of the season. So that's the latest on Mason Mount. Le Mans looking Bart banned. Bart says, do we still have Charlie McNeil? Maybe the lack of a striker signing could be a blessing. Um, we do still have Charlie McNeil on the books. Now, Charlie McNeil, very, very highly rated at one time, scored a lot of goals for the under 18s. He had a couple of unsuccessful loan spells. Again, some of the players we've brought in on loan just haven't been good. The loans we've got, they haven't had enough minutes. We're playing for teams who they probably shouldn't be playing for. I don't think we should be sending our academy players to Stevenage, personally. That's my thoughts on that there one. But he is back. He returned on the 3rd of January and will spend the second half of the season at Manchester United. So depends on what happens there, and it depends what's going to happen, because Charlie McNeil's now 20 years old. Player I had a lot of hope for at one point. A player I still do have hope for as well in terms of his overall talent levels. I just hope he can get a chance in the team. The same goes with Joe Hugel. I really doubt it's going to happen, though. I think pre-season might be a good time for them to try target it, even put themselves in the shop window, so to speak, if that's what it's going to have to come to. Gani says, I'm not worried about squad depth, as it's all down to the manager. The more he rotates and gives youth a chance, the better we are. Altai should be playing more. Fernandez should not have gone on loan, says Gani. So, look, some of those are very good points. I think squad depth is a concern of mine. I think the lack of depth and quality depth is concerning. We've got players. Don't get me wrong. It's not that we don't have players, but we don't have quality players. We don't have good players on the bench we can turn to go and turn things around in a match. We don't have good quality players who we can say, look, Casemiro's on a yellow card. He looks tired out there. Let's take him off. Let's put this guy on, and hopefully we won't have a drop off in quality. Instead we are expecting the drop in quality to come, because it happens every time because of the players we do have. So we've got physical numbers, but I don't think we have tangible quality out there in the same way that a lot of other teams do. And maybe, just maybe, not finishing high in the Champions League group might be a blessing in disguise for this team. Maybe, just maybe, having a week between matches is going to be beneficial between now and the end of the season. Rashad goes, wouldn't go to Burnley on loan. Fernandez isn't going to play for Malacia and Luke Shaw. I think the thing is with Fernandez, I think he's a really good player. I think there's a high ceiling there. But I think compared to Harry Amas, that has to be the club's plan, because Amas looks to be levels above what Alvaro Fernandez can reach in potential, and he's definitely one to keep an eye out on. That's my personal thought on that one. Do I have faith in the medical department? So many players have suffered. A lot have suffered. A lot have suffered. Make no mistake about that, Liman. I feel more confident. We have Gary O'Driscoll now at the club. He was head doctor at Arsenal, and he does seem to be leading a review of sorts and trying to overhaul the medical department. We've brought in someone from Salford City to be the designated head of the academy, which is good in terms of the medical side of it, because look, we've had a lot of good young players ruined by injuries in recent years. You look at Axel Tuanzebe, Timothy Fosu-Mensah, you've got Ted Mengi. You probably could add Roshan Williams as a player who had a lot of hope for him at one point. Too many players have been ruined by injury at this club, breaking through in the last few years, and it's important that we do manage to overhaul that. Gani says, how do you know he's not given time? Players develop by playing. All he wasted 2 seasons trying William and Fernandez is a better player. Yeah, look, I don't think there's a player in Brandon Williams. I think if Ipswich get promoted and want to take him in the summer, they absolutely can do that, and we absolutely should check the offer. That's my personal thoughts on that one. Look, guys, we'll move on to some news as well. For anybody from the nation of Ghana, some exciting news. The Ghanaian FA are trying to persuade Kobbie Mainoo to represent Ghana in international football. Personally, I can't see this happening. I think if I'm Gareth Southgate, I call Kobbie Mainoo up for the European Championships, but I guess we'll see where that one goes. Gareth Southgate probably is likely to pick Jordan Henderson and Calvin Phillips over Mainoo. Probably Bellingham will be on the bench as well. But Mount will return at some point as well. Sorry, I do have the I do have a quote from Ten Hag on the central striking position, and that is something I want to get talking about. And basically, he had said that all season long he had wanted a striker. He's made this abundantly clear. We haven't been able to do it. FFP reasons are the concern there. That's the reason why we can't bring him in. I wish we could have got someone in for a body. I wish we could have had an option we could have turned to, even if it was going to be like an Odion Gallo type signing. Not ideal. Definitely not ideal. But I think it's better than playing Rashford through the middle. I think it's better than trying to get quote unquote creative with the number 9 position, as Ten Hag has said today. So I think we needed to get someone, we needed to get anybody, and ultimately we couldn't afford anyone. If Charlie McNeil gets a go, if he gets an opportunity to be in the squad, that's probably good for his own development personally, and he might end up using that to move on. We do have some other updates to bring you. Sir Jim is trying to make some money. I'm joking. But Manchester United will increase season ticket prices by 5% for the upcoming season. A second consecutive increase following 11 consecutive seasons without an increase. United said the price adjustment was to ensure the club operates on a sustainable basis and to support investment in the team and stadium. This will also reflected in the rising matchday operational costs. So that's some news coming from within the club at the moment. I think I have an update as well to bring you guys on the Inio side of things. Let me see if I can find it here. Of course, Sofian Amrabat is coming back. That is something to be telling you guys. And he'll be back for the weekend. Bath Time, very, very happy with that one. Let me see. Where was the Ineos story? I think... Yeah, there we go. So Ineos are getting very close to finalising their report on the preferred director of football. We're getting really close to that. That's going to come very soon. In the next couple of days, I believe they were targeting Monday for the ratification of that deal from the Premier League. So getting close to that. Rijak goes, United got Fernandes later. Hopefully we try to sign Rafa or João Neves. 2 top players, one with high potential. McTominay at striker. We're going to have to get creative at some point, maybe. I think João Neves is a really, really good player. Can I justify spending £100 million on the guy? I don't know if I can, and I know he's really good. I know he's really, really, really good. But is he what we need? I think we need more physicality in that midfield area. I think we need someone who can be a high volume dual winner. I think we need someone with legs, with height, ideally, and with quality on the ball as well. I think that's what we want to see. If we can get a mixture between Scott McTominay and Christian Eriksen, maybe that could be a good place to start. If we could stick, if we could just mold them into one player in themselves. Ed Barrett says Neves is expensive. Yes, 100 million buyout clause doesn't look good. It doesn't. Muppeteers have said as well 2 hours ago there are some good updates and talk from David Ornstein coming out soon on 5 UK about Director of Football, no Paul Mitchell, and the Ineos ratification coming very, very soon. They'll go on to share that there as well. That's maybe something to review, something to have a look at. Rizzako's going to be 85 million. Yeah, look, I know the players I would like to see brought in. I've got a lot of videos coming up on them very, very soon. Have been working on them this week. I think in terms of target areas for summer. Now, look, we'll just throw some ideas out there. I think we need at least 1 centre back. I think we need 2. So I think we need a right centre back and a left centre back. I think we need a right back. I think we need a long-term number 6 option. That takes us to 4 players already, and I think we're going to need a striker. So that's going to take us to 5 players. That for me is a realistic transfer window in this summer. Would I like to get more? Hell yeah, I'd love to get more. I would love to get more players than 5. But that's what I think most realistic in this window. I think we need strength on the right-hand side as well. If we go for a 6th player, I guess a right winger could be the option there. Rizak would like to see Zubimendi. Jarl says the only position right now we do not have cover for is the striker position. Midfield is strong, wingers are strong. We got 6 defenders. We need right and left backs. Yeah. Bad Time wants to see Brian Mbuemo. I like Mbuemo. I do like him as a player. My concern with Brian Mbuemo, perhaps, is he the best suited player to what we want? I think it depends what work we go for. It does depend on what we go for. I think, look, if I want to spitball some names out there, if I want to just throw them out into the void of the channel streams, I would say maybe, I don't know, Matthias Silla on the right. That would probably be my preference. Bakayoko would be another good one. Nico Williams would be a third option. All really good. And Bwen was probably up there. And I guess you're going to put Elisa up there. Now, I think Elisa is most realistic. There does seem to be movement and talk about that at the moment. So I think that's one to keep an eye out on. I think if you're looking centre backs, Jared Brandtwit is a really good option for left centre back. Right centre back, I would like Lenny Euro, but it's probably going to be Tobido, realistically. I think right back's an interesting one. The market's pretty scarce, but if you can get Mazarawi out of Bayern Munich, he does seem to be unsettled there by their signing of Sacha Boey. That could be a good option. I think if you're looking at number 6, Amadeo Nana to go in there alongside Mainoo and a pivot would be nice. Or you can maybe have a look at like a Viper. Loads of good options out there. Jarl says director of football announcement in the weekend. I don't think so, but I think we're going to get it pretty soon. Maybe next weekend. I think if they're looking at Monday being ratification day, then I think next weekend you might see director of football time. Baltan goes, I'm skeptical with Palace players after Zaha and Wan-Bissaka not making the step up. Yeah, it depends on mentality as well. It does. It's it's good to succeed in the Premier League and succeed at Crystal Palace. Absolutely. To stand out in a bad team, you do have to be good as well. But on the same hand, there has been players who've left Crystal Palace or clubs of that kind of level that have enjoyed the mentality of being a big fish in a small pond. And we've seen that there issues with Wilfred Zaha. You've probably seen it with Wan-Bissaka. Not different personalities, obviously, but the concern is with Wan-Bissaka. He hasn't really improved on the limitations in his game since he's come to this club as well, which is going to be something that's going to hinder him potentially in this upcoming window. But look, that could be some of my rough ideas. I think you're looking at 5 or 6 players being signed. I think that's very exciting. I do think that's exciting, and hopefully we can get them in a quick and effective manner, and we can get them in a way that we can go out and get them fairly reasonable. That's what we want to see. Let me see. Jarl is saying Elisa looks very promising. I have heard he's injury prone. Has only had one major injury. That does not make an injury prone player. Yeah, look, he's had a couple of what you would call in the I guess biologically soft tissue muscle injury. So he's kind of had hamstring problems. I think the issue is there, and he's not the only one at Palace. Zaha had it, Eze had it. I think they mismanage their players. I think because they have such a lack of quality in that team, whenever their star players are anywhere close to being fit, they rush back into it, and that's how they re-aggravate injuries. Let me see. Rajat goes, may as well get Brandtwit, Ignacio, or Silva, and then Tobido. Look, I like Tobido, but I think there's better options out there. I think realistically, you're paying maybe £45 million for Tobido. I think you can get a Brandtwit, or you can get an Ignacio probably for about 60. I think you can get a Lenny Euro for about 60. I think Diamond, you're probably looking 70. I think Antonio Silva is probably going to be about 80. It's a lot of money to pay for centre back. It is. Ed Barrett said, what about a right centre back that can also do right back, like Luke Shaw? I think there was someone we were looking at, possibly from Bayer Leverkusen. He actually does fit that mold. He's a right centre back / right back. Let me quickly check here for you, man. Bayer Lever. He had a very long name, and I struggled to pronounce it. But he was one they were potentially looking at. Where is he? This is bugging me. I can't find him. Hold on, I'm gonna have to find this here. I think he's from Ivory Coast potentially. I don't know. It's annoying me that I can't think of his name. I remember actually because when I was on United Agenda, I was sitting talking about Rebel with them. Man Utd says we should be forced. Should we spend money on a striker when we can get one in the academy like we got Mainoo? I think we got a lack of genuine quality in there. In terms of that striking position. Now look, you've got a really good crop of young players coming through. I think look next season, if I had to guess, you might be looking at Chelsea next season. You might be looking at Amir Ibrahimov the season after in terms of breakouts. I think Lacey's 16 coming 17. I think Ibrahimov's 15 at the moment, so maybe in about a season or two he'll be coming on to 17, 18, ready to make that step up. into the first team. There is elite level talents coming through Carrington. There is a lack of top strikers. I will say that there. I think you've kind of got a little bit of a frustrating position where some of the best players are not under 18s team, so maybe not ready physically to make that step up as of yet. But it's interesting to keep an eye out on for sure. It really, really is. Razak goes, yeah, the window is over. Let me see, what have I got? Wasim is down there. Ten Hag tactical prowess is questionable. It is. It definitely is. Let's see, Ed Barrett's talking about Kambuala. Bart, how many cons you got of his humans? Razak said, did Ten Mangi have a higher ceiling? Yeah, Ten Mangi had a better ceiling than look, for me, he had a better ceiling than the £1 million we got for him. I don't think that's too much of a that's not controversial. That's nothing outrageous. Look, I remember about 12 months ago, I remember people saying we shouldn't be getting rid of Sam Iqbal to bring in somebody like Kobbie Mainoo because they were impressed by Iqbal in pre-season. I get how it goes. I always do get that, but I don't know. Personally, for me, like I think some players have gone, and rightly so. I think we might live to regret letting go. Who was it? Isaac Hansen Aaron. I think that's potentially one we might miss out on. I can't find the post or well the messages that I had sent about the player we were after a couple of months ago. He plays right back and centre back. It's annoying me. His name begins with K or something. Jarl says we do need a centre back. We got Kambala to take the step up, and we loaned out a centre back who looks very promising. Two of them could be first team players in 2 seasons, maybe. I think Kambala is ready physically. I do think he's ready physically. I think he did well against West Ham when he played over the Christmas period. I wouldn't mind seeing more of him. He has come on from time to time and played as kind of like a right back, coming off the bench sometimes. I know he's got the speed and the athleticism to do it. It's not his natural role. But I mean, I've been pretty impressed with Kambuala from when he has played. I think his problem has always been his fitness levels as well. That's always been his problem, guys. I have remembered for whoever it was who asked the question about right back, centre back players. I've finally got it, and I'm really happy. It bugs me. The guy we're looking for is Odilion Kasunu, and he plays for Bayer Leverkusen. I was right. Um, Let me see. Wasim says, "Why can't we keep the score?" I don't know what the problem is. That was a lack of game management last night because by all accounts, when the match went to 3-1, we should have shut up shop, took the 3-1 win. When it went to 3-2, we should have just sat back. We should have just held on to the ball, run down the clock. Should we have been putting crosses into the box in the 95th minute when we're a goal up, 3 minutes to go? No, absolutely no, we shouldn't. Dark Rose says Ten Hag survives games like Ollie did. That's not sustainable. Let me put in this guy's name to the chat for anyone who does want to check him out. There was rumours about him in the January window. Maybe one to keep an eye out on. Obviously, Bayer Leverkusen done really well this season. I have a load of comments. So a load of votes in this poll. The squad depth is concerning 58% of people. A further 19 say they're a little bit concerned. And 23% of people say no concern about depth at all. I would love to be in your position. Very, very calm, very, very relaxed bunch of guys out there. Clearly, we're up to 21 likes as well. That's really good. Thanks so much for that as well, guys. And look, I guess we'll just preview this. We'll move on really quickly and we'll preview the match against West Ham at the weekend. It's going to be an interesting one. West Ham have beaten us twice this season. I think they beat us in the League Cup, and obviously they beat us at the London Stadium. In recent weeks, West Ham have been kind of a frustrating watch for a lot of them. I think they haven't been scoring as many goals. Now let me double check as well though. Whenever looking into their form, because I'll just have to pull it up here, but their goal scoring hasn't been as freely as what it once was. I think they're still ahead of us in the league as well. Like in the last couple of matches, it's been 1-1 with Bournemouth, it's been 2-2 with Sheffield United. They were beat by Bristol City. In a replay, they drew with Brighton. Then they beat Arsenal on the 28th of December, and before that, they beat us 2-0. So West Ham since the new year, their form definitely has took a turn for the worse. Only I don't think they've won a match this year. Um, in the calendar year of 2024. So no wins in the last five. We should be going out there beating West Ham in this one. They will be difficult to beat. Make no mistake about it. They always are. Jared Bowen will cause us problems. He always does. And it's going to be up to us to find a way to stop that. It's going to be up for us to find a way to win this match. And look, West Ham at the moment are above us by 1 point. If we win this, we go up to 38 points. For the season will be what, at that point, 5 points off the top four. That's what we got to be aiming for. The next couple of matches, we play teams immediately above us. We play Aston Villa, we play West Ham. We win those two matches, we find ourselves 1 point behind Aston Villa, and they're currently in fifth position. Their form has been pretty questionable in the last couple of matches as well. We should be going out there beating West Ham. They will cause us problems. They have a pretty stubborn defence. They've scored more goals than us this season. Most teams have. But the thing is, with West Ham, a lot of draws in that as well. So don't be shocked to see a draw as well in that one. Jarl says, when Wolves adjusted to the tactics, United did not. That's why we're being caught all the time. That's one of the reasons I'm wondering if Ten Hag's the person to take us forward. We lost to Newcastle in the Cup, not West Ham. Did we beat West Ham in the Cup? Maybe we did. I swear we played West Ham twice this season. Swear we did. Did we beat them in the first round, maybe? I don't know. Bart says, be kind, give West Ham their win of the season. They've already got it. They got it at the London Stadium. It's our turn. I'm not too sure if Kudus is going to be back for that. He might be. He caused us a lot of issues in the first match as well. Jarl says, lost to Newcastle. And Matata says, Jarl, in Ten Hag, I'm worried people will tell you he hasn't got his players. Players are injured. And then they will say the players not been listening to his instructions. Bart says, 38 points, 2 points from safety once accomplished. Time to go to the Belfast nightclub that Rashford recently visited. It will be, yes. Once we get to 40, I will get there. Don't worry. I'll drink the water for now. Don't worry. I will enjoy that. But I definitely will be. Once we have 40 points, we'll be safe for another season. That's what it's all about. And I guarantee that's coming to someone's thinking at the club before. I guarantee that's coming to like the Glazers thinking, oh, at least we're not going to get relegated. So, that's kind of the position we find ourselves in at the moment. Let me see, is there anything interesting coming out at the minute? I think Nigeria might be winning in the AFCON. It's an that's a good one there. It's an interesting one. Let me see. Kobbie Mainoo's been in the media, of course, all day long. Plenty of coverage for him. South Korea into the semi-finals of the Asian Cup. For anyone who's been watching that tournament, I don't think there's anything else out there. Pretty quiet day. So far. That's good. Matata says Ten Hag is clueless tactically. Some fan base not agreeing with it because they are so tired they just want him to be successful. It's an interesting point. I know there's a lot of fans out there who will have the opinion that they don't want to sack another manager because we've been there, done that 5 or 6 times at this point. I think Ten Hag's got big problems. I think his in-game management has been bad. I think his substitutions have been poor. I think the tactics haven't been right. And I think that he does have, there's issues within our team that are definitely tactical. The lack of service to the striker is something that should have been solved by now. The openness of our midfield every single time is something that should have been solved by now. The awkward man marking attempt of a press we do sometimes should have been resolved by now. So yes, those are Ten Hag problems. The injuries don't help him either, but that's not a complete excuse for him. I can get your performance levels drop if you're going from Casemiro, Mainoo, and Bruno as your midfield three to dropping to Eriksen, McTominay, and that being the makeup of your midfield. I can get there being a drop in quality. Amrabat as well. You probably put in there. I can get when you lose Martinez and Varane and play Evans and Maguire that you can't play out of the back well enough. You don't have the capabilities to play a higher line. I get that. That comes down to squad building issues. That comes down to club issues that every manager has suffered with. So I think there's things Ten Hag can help, and I think there's some things he can't help. I think he needs to do more with what he can do and what he can directly influence, of course, but I do think there are issues out there that he maybe can't resolve. Even the injuries could be attributed to him as well. I guess the injuries, you could say, is he overtraining them? Is he not protecting them well enough? That's another good question that someone with inside knowledge will have to answer for you as well. I got 21, 22 likes on the stream, guys. Drop a like if you can. Hit the sub button as well. Really helps us out. Jarl says, oh, England with Mainoo and Bellingham, they'll be cooking. Yeah, look, England's midfield should be Rice, Bellingham, and Mainoo, but it'll probably be Declan Rice, Jordan Henderson, and Calvin Phillips, with Jude Bellingham coming off the bench, Jack Grealish playing on the left, Foden not being in the team, Bukayo Saka maybe being in the team, and a back five of just Kyle Walker, Eric Dyer, Harry Maguire, John Stones, and Ben Chilwell or something. Bart says last time former Ten Hag players Kudus and Alvarez dominated Kobbie in the midfield. How do other teams find better players from Ajax and United? It's a good question. It's a good question. I think we should have signed Kudus over Anthony. I think he's a better player. I think my issues with Mohamed Kudus, and I get why we didn't sign him at the time, was due to injuries. That was definitely one of the reasons why we didn't buy him. He was very injury prone last season. Montana says Bart comes to Dubai. We'll have to kill shots opposite the Burj Khalifa. Rashad goes, I'm worried about the West Ham game. I am worried too. I'm worried about every game. Bart says we took 17 flights during preseason. Did that affect us physically? I think the preseason really was a disaster, Bart. It really was. Let me quickly pull it up, because some of the matches we played, we didn't even have like a first team in it. We didn't have players there who were going to be playing. We played with a lot of bench players, a lot of reserve players, a lot of youth players. Let me quickly pull it up here, because if I go through this, I can name you in what matches the first team kind of played, and this will kind of show you. We played how many matches? Hold on 1 second. We played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We played 8 preseason matches, right? We played 8 preseasons. Against Leeds, it was mostly an academy team. Against Lyon, it was mostly an academy team. We played Arsenal, that was the first team. Then we played Wrexham, that was the academy. We played Real Madrid, that was the first team. We played Dortmund, that was the first team. And then we played Lens, and that was the first team. The next day we played Bilbao, and that was the reserve. So we had, one? We had 2, we had 3, we had 4. 4 out of 8 matches were pretty much no first team involvement, and it was a really badly planned tour. It was a real mess of a thing as well. Matata, Jarl, my football tuitions from me. Wasim, United seem to be on a permanent downfall after 2013. It's just been one thing after another. It's been 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 3 forward, 2 back, 1 forward, 4 back. Sometimes it does feel like, what it kind of feels like is like we go, and then there's just something behind us that pulls us back. It's just like gravity collapsed under itself. I think that's kind of the situation, is that there's no foundations of this club that's built upon, and it inevitably just collapses in on itself at some point as soon as the going gets rough. Mentada says Bart is an over informative troll. Oh god. Bart says Onana got chipped on his debut by Jude. Was at Dortmund. Andre hasn't been the same since. I don't know what the problem is with Onana. He's had good performances, but his consistency has been consistently poor. The good performances have been more out there. Gany says, let's say we change manager in December. Do you think the board would have signed a single player? I think that Phil Ten Hag has wasted and found nobody should be competing for a quiet January. It's a good point. I think, look, it comes down to FFP restrictions and issues to begin with. That's the reason why we couldn't sign players. They might have took a view of it, the Ten Hag signings haven't worked out. I would agree with that statement as well. I think if you look at if you're looking at it from Jim Radcliffe's position, and this is why he's making so many changes in regards to the actual structure and the executive and the recruitment, is that he's seen John Murdoch, he's seen the likes of Arnold, he's seen the likes of Ten Hag involved very heavily in the transfer process in the last couple of years. Before that, we had Ed Woodward, it was Matt Judge, different managers, of course, but they have spent something like 1.2, 1.3 billion pounds, and maybe have two or three good players signed in the last 10 years. There's no guarantee that giving them an extra £1 billion was ever going to achieve anything. If at that ratio, they might get two or three good players out of that, and that's at tops. So that's why I think you've got to make those big changes to begin with. That's why I think you've got to look to the executive, and that's why you have to look inwards, and we have to look at the top before we start looking down. And I guess that explains what the thought process is. I completely get it. I completely understand it. If I was putting £1 billion into this club, I would want to make sure it was going to be spent well. I wouldn't want it to be Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold or Woodward or John Murdo making those decisions. That's the kind of situations we want to evolve. Wasim says, I feel like since Sir Jim's come in, we can make progress. I think there's maybe been more positivity in the last couple of weeks, maybe, but again, it's still kind of limited. It's still kind of a negligible effect at the moment. It might get better. It might get better, and the more control he gets, the more operations that are performed on the club, the more new faces coming in who know what they're doing, it's only going to be a better thing. Look, I've been saying for a very long time, give people who know what they're doing the power to do things at this club, give them the money to back it up, and they'll do a lot of good for us. Man Utd, is the starting line big enough to beat Tactical Moyes? I'm not too sure. We'll find out. Jarl says, Woodward back as new director of football. I seen shouts out there to have Jose Mourinho come back and be director of football. That's maybe the worst thing I've ever seen. Rajat goes, when we had the board with Woodward, Arnold, Matt Judge, they were useless. Yeah, they absolutely were. And I mean, look, they still made money out of the sale as well. That's kind of depressing that after all this, they still managed to make money as well. Look, guys, I think we're going to leave the stream here. So thanks so much for joining in with me today as well. Have a very good Friday night. Have a good Saturday as well, guys. I'll catch everyone, if not tomorrow, definitely for the watch along on Sunday. So make sure to tune in for that. Should be live tomorrow at some point. But yeah, have a good day, guys. Thanks so much for joining in, and I'll catch everyone in the next one.